You're listening to Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost.
I have to be careful on these things because Leah just puts everything in the outtakes.
It's good.
I can't say anything now
You can.
because even this bit will be in the outtake, won't it?
Yep. It's all good.
Well, welcome back to episode 3 of the Brand and Boost podcast. This week we are talking all about good copy, what it means, the importance of it, and everything around it. Because I think you can have an amazing website, whatever it is, and if the copy's rubbish, then you ain't going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Leah is here again, and we also have today Charlotte Davies, who is an extremely good copywriter.
Thank you.
TEDx talker, also with me on the NatWest Accelerator program, which we both enjoy from this year's cohort. Yeah, and works with brands and businesses to improve their copy and provides good, clear and strategic communications. So welcome, Charlotte.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Leah. I'm really pleased to be here.
Cool. So if we just kick it off, what is copywriting?
So there's lots of different types of copywriting. If you've ever watched Mad Men, it dates back a long time. But you've got ads like they wrote, bringing it up to today. You've got website copies, so your home pages, your landing pages, emails, Facebook ads, YouTube or podcast show notes. That could be examples of copy as well. Anything which is written with the intention of getting your reader to take action. So that could be buying something, it could be signing up to something, it could be subscribing.
Got you. And I presume you must see a lot of poor copywriting. I think a lot of businesses, I personally struggle with copywriting. As soon as you get in front of your laptop and you want to write something, your brain disappears. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I think because we've been writing since we were at school, everybody has the ability to write a sentence. But when you think about copy as a sales tool, not everybody's a good salesperson. So it's the difference of being able to speak to your customers and take them on that journey of not knowing much about you, right through to the point of saying, yes, I really want to work with you. So there's a lot of things that you can include to do that, depending on the stage of awareness of your customer and how much they know you already. Ways you can do this and find out how much that they know is actually by asking them and doing voice of customer research. Because when you have a blank page, you think, oh, goodness me, what am I going to write? But actually your customers often have the answers for you. So what is it that they really like about your product? Even before we get to them actually buying your product, why do they come to you in the first place? So what kind of problems were they experiencing? So it could be you guys have clothing in your fulfilment center. Somebody's gone onto a website thinking, I've got a party to go to, but I've got nothing to wear and I want to look really good. So if you can show people on your website, on your home pages, we've got amazing Christmas dresses, so you're going to shine at a Christmas party, then you're going to click on that rather than something really generic which you think that the customer wants to see.
Yes, it's all about personalising for the customer's real pain points and about their journey. So yeah, I mean, we see a lot, not necessarily from our clients, because I think our clients are all pretty good. But it's, as the example of like the dresses, you'll get blue dress, blue velvet dress, and so on. It doesn't really say anything. You're describing the product, but you're not describing why you would want it.
Minimum words, isn't it? That's
And that doesn't help Google in any way, does it? And people don't search like that either. Generally, they search for, like you say, a problem, evening dress or evening ball gown or nice number to go out on a Friday night or something. That's kind of how they search.
I always look for ball gowns.
Me too.
Yeah. You
But
know?
yeah, I think that's interesting. So in terms of like the copyright, it's thinking about, why are you writing what you're writing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will just go straight into it and just type, and then they'll end up with 3 sentences, and that's that. You did a really good talk at NatWest, where you went into all the different aspects of it, and you did the what did you say, voice of the customer?
Yeah, voice of customer.
And that was really, really good and really insightful about thinking about, well, what things have you not thought of? So just by asking the customer their opinion on things and what their problems are, it gives you topics to talk about. So you're not just you're not relying on doing it all yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about why they came to you in the first place, that kind of highlights either the problem that they're experiencing, the struggle, or the outcome that they want to get. So it's like, I can't find something to wear. Then think about, was there anything that your customer was holding them back from buying from you as well? Because when you understand what hesitations they had, if they're thinking, oh, actually, it's really expensive, if you know the reason why it's got a higher price point, so it could be British made, or it could be really good quality ingredients or material if it's a dress, then you can put that front and center in your communications, so that they're understanding why it is a high price point.
Yeah, definitely. So going way back, how did you even get into copywriting? I can't imagine. I mean, you can also be interested in words, but I wouldn't have thought there's many kids going, "Oh, I want to be a copywriter."
No, and I actually only started copywriting last year, so April 2021. And I used to write for the school newsletter, and then when I went to university, I wrote for the student newspaper. And while I was there, I got into writing music reviews, and that led on to actually I was on a train on the way back from a holiday, and I was hungover. I was 19 or 20, and really I just wanted to sleep. But then the guy next to me started chatting, and I thought, oh, I'll go on then, I'll have a chat. He turned out to be a music journalist, and he'd written for NME. And before then, I'd been really nervous about putting myself forward to review a gig or interview a band. It was CDs at the time, years ago. So I was always writing the single and album reviews. That day, it was a Monday, it was the same day as my newspaper meeting. So I went in and they said, does anybody want to write and interview the band? And I went, yeah, okay. I was really nervous about it. And then I went on and interviewed that. And then I interviewed more. When I graduated, I went into PR, which is a lot of writing as well. Yeah. And it's because I didn't get on the Express a Star training scheme because I wanted to be a journalist, but it wasn't the right path for me, clearly. And I think that's always something to remember in business and in life. If you don't get something, there are plenty of other better paths for you. I wouldn't have been good in that situation. But from there, I went into PR, which was a lot of writing as well, but I kept wanting to go and write reviews because it was a way to get free tickets. And
that's the only reason.
I can say you sold it to me already. Yeah.
Free tickets because my first PR job was low wages, and living in Bristol, my rent was high as well, so I didn't have a lot of money for playtime.
Was it just music like you did with your PR, or was it like any other industries?
So I started off working with trade unions and on an anti-bullying at work campaign. So it was around the time of Big Brother and Jade and Shilpa Shetty. And that was really good experience because I was able to put my spokesperson forward, and she was interviewed on Sky News about it, and it was a good eye-opener about what can be achieved when you've got the right spokespeople with the right situation, and how topical events can be a really useful way to talk about your business or your cause at the time. So I worked PR for food brands like Pilgrim's Choice. I used to do their PR for a few years.
But that was cheesy.
Oh.
Yeah, even more so because at the Bath and West show we worked with Bath Spa University students and on a bit of a stunt to create a range of cheese-inspired dresses. So that was really fun coming up with headlines for that. So Versace's,
Okay.
Gucci's.
Oh, okay.
It was very
Might so good
cheesy.
now. Yeah, Versace's.
Yeah, it was really good experience, and doing PR for Indian sauces as well. So quite a few food things.
Mm.
And then prior to that, I worked for 4 years in music PR, online music PR. So that was working with an agency in Bristol. And I was working on campaigns for record labels like Atlantic and Warner Music and Polydor, Universal, Island.
Quite the varied industries then. So you kind of specialism is in music reviews and cheese.
Oh yeah, it's surprising how cheese. People love cheese, you know.
yeah, yeah.
It's like supposed to be the most like theft item
Oh,
from
yeah,
a
no,
grocery store.
they steal a lot of cheese.
Yeah, it's not cheap either. And I went and had a tour around.
Ironically, music is probably cheaper than cheese.
Well, free when
Yeah.
people legally download
Oh, yeah,
things
but-
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got streaming now, so it's different.
It's all good. Those are for the younger viewers, the days of LimeWire and just downloading viruses. You used to take a day to download a song and then you'd find
Napster
out.
it
it
was.
Oh yeah.
When Napster was individual, that was good, but then that got closed down. Obviously, I never used it.
I might have maybe. Not.
LimeWire was just viruses.
Yeah,
so
I always downloaded mine. I got quite
But
a few.
we don't condone that on
No,
this
no,
channel.
no.
Legal,
Piracy.
support the artists.
Yeah.
So you've done all those things,
Mhm.
and you've done lots of writing and from this whole plethora of industries and things.
Yes.
And now you're writing with a sort of, I can't speak, specifically in like case studies and things.
Yeah.
So talk me through that.
So I really love case studies because I
Never heard someone say that.
I know, such a geek. But I do. I think because I love storytelling, and basically case studies are like stories in suits because they help you to tell how, like we were saying before about the pain points and the outcomes. It's a way that you can show your experience and your successes, but in a way that's memorable for your future customers to understand. Because there's some stats to say that as humans, we have developed and evolved to be hardwired to remember stories, and we remember stories up to, some people say, 22 times more than facts alone. So yeah, and it dates back to evolutionary, like when you couldn't write in the caves, then stories were the way to remember them. Obviously now we can write and we can read, but case studies are just multifaceted as well, because I think when people say case studies, they think of these big kind of multi-page documents that you get at an expo. And there's a time and a place for that. But you can have shorter versions where if you've got an advertorial in a magazine, rather than having a page ad, if you include the story of how you've helped a client, similar people to them can read it and think, they've helped them. I'm experiencing similar problems. They could help me as well.
Yeah, because I think, you first mentioned to me about case studies a couple of months ago, I guess. And I've been sort of mulling it over in my mind ever since. And like you say, you get case studies that are 2 or 3 pages, very corporate, industrial ones. And sometimes they're good, but they're very wooden and cold case studies. They're very factual, aren't they? We've done this, we've helped this. And like they work in a setting, but not in a lot of ways. But then I find a lot of other case studies are very basic. So where people aren't really sure what the right questions to ask are. It's sort of, I don't know, how has your business improved, this and that. But it's very minimal,
Yeah.
and you don't really get much worth out of it. Whereas the more I've thought about it, the big thing, like you just mentioned, is being able to cut out. And if someone says to you, or you get a bit of PR, have you got a quick story about one of your clients? Yes, great. I'll take a paragraph out. Perfect. And using it in all your marketing materials. So you showed again on your talk about you make your case study, but then you're also making like headlines and bios and things which can go on different parts of your website, or on a product description, or on the homepage and things. Like you're getting a whole wealth of information out of it, which I think is quite intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you talk about the dry case studies, quite often it's because it's purely from the business's point of view. You haven't factored in the customer. So really, the customer should be the star of the show. You are the guide. You are the either Dumbledore if you're a Harry Potter fan, or Gandalf if you're Lord of the Rings. Yeah. As businesses, we are helping people.
Carry on.
As businesses, we are helping with that. We are providing the transformation. So we are helping our customers get from one state to another state. They don't really care the minutiae, like that really detailed process of how we do it, because depending on the type of decision maker you are, which is the conversation for another day, quite often it's just you want to know that this person, this company can provide that transformation for you. There are going to be times when they are closer to making that decision, especially if it's a higher price point, when those details are going to be really important. So that's probably when that bigger case study is going to come in handy. So focus on the challenges that the customer was facing before they came to you. The question is to ask them what was going on in your life when you sought us out. Then if you've got 3 points, think about how you solved those 3 points. And then as a result of you solving that for them, or giving them a product or a service, how did their life improve from that? And not just the instant results, but the impact that it had. So it might be, if we go back to the dress analogy, looking for a dress, I've been looking all over, you don't have my size, I've got really broad shoulders, so I need something that fits that. Go to the special broad shoulder dress company. They've got it, amazing. They've got all these different colours, all these shapes, which are going to make my shoulders look slimmer, amazing. Then I buy that, feel really good, got my dress, go off to this event because I'm feeling so confident. I feel confident to go up and talk to all these people, and then I get new business. Or if it was a networking event, or if it was a party, I meet my future husband or something like that. It's what does your solution, your product, your service lead on to for the customer?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? So it's not just, again, you're not just the obvious end result of I've got a dress that fits great, but it's the
It's almost like
building that
creating,
storytelling, that
that's
fairy
it.
tale.
Creating the story for the customer to kind of just walk into and live the the dream. Dream.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be that huge case study. It can be using a shorter version of the story in your email sequence if somebody signs up to a newsletter, rather than giving them a discount straight away, which it's not always the best for your business. It's just
It's rarely the best for your business to discount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how can you show your products in the best light in different situation when they could be used? So you could have different emails with a different hero product and a different example of when you could use it. So yeah, with emails, and then there's testimonials as well. So you've got maybe Facebook reviews or Google reviews or Trustpilot, but how can you use them not just on those places, but also static on your website? Because a carousel is great, But if somebody's only, they're not going to scroll through all of them. But if you can have them strategically, so maybe if you've got a review for a specific product, have it on that product page underneath the description by the buy button or add to basket. When you know that somebody else, it's that social proof. When you know somebody else has enjoyed it, they've looked good in it, they've got benefits if it's a supplement or whatever, you're going to be more likely to click on the button because it's that encouragement.
Sure. And I think a lot of, certainly in terms of like retail brands, I would think that most of them aren't that strong in terms of copy, in particular like case studies and not embellishing, because I'm sure that's sort of got a negative connotation, but utilising that content. Like I say, you'll see on people's sites they've got reviews, but the reviews are often quite standard. I guess they all say much the same
Or
thing.
generic, yeah.
I've received a product, it was good, it looked nice. I received the product, really happy with it. I mean, that's all good, it's better than nothing, but it's not really painting the picture. It's like you say, it's when you're hovering over the buy button and your brain's just starting to go, are you sure about this?
Yeah, just hit it,
Yeah.
buy it.
So you're just hovering, and then, but if that little message was there that said, I got this, and it fit perfect, and I happened to just meet the man of my dreams, or I just felt amazing, and it was the best I felt in the dress.
Yeah, or I had
You
so
would be
many
like,
compliments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's selling that extra, and it's obviously not just about dresses, because it could be about anything. We were just talking about military contracts and things before this, in the sense that it could just be that the staff have everything they need, and you've got now a contented workforce.
Mm-hmm.
You're selling it down, whatever it might be. If you've got software, again, it could be that your team are no longer stressed, and they've found that they've refocused and their productivity's gone up 50%.
Yeah. Or they're not clicking between pages because everything is in one simple form or something like that. So, yeah.
But without asking the customers and sort of probing them with the right questions, letting them do the talking, but getting that information out. I think it's interesting as well. I think a bit like you said, you're letting them do the talking and them telling the story, rather than you sort of coming at it from almost like a slightly biased position.
Yeah, or you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think as business owners, we love what we do. We might have started our companies because we were experiencing a specific problem, and we might be using our own experience to write the copy, which is a great starting point. There's nothing wrong with that. But as your customer base grows, there's going to be other ways that people are using your product, which you might not even be aware of. Quite often that's the case, and you're helping people in ways that you never imagined either. And when you speak to your customers, quite often, if you say things like, is there anything else you wish I offered? Or what is it that you like about this? Or what could we do differently? It can open up other opportunities for offers or service improvements that you're just not aware of yourself.
It's all very valid advice. So you mentioned just then about being a business owner.
Yes.
You are now a business owner. How has that been so far? What's the journey like?
A bit of a roller coaster, which I think is the standard response. I love it because I love how you're creating something from nothing, and I can think, I really would like to see if this offer works. I can just put it out there and see if anybody wants to buy it. Or I can talk to my customers or like people on the NatWest Accelerator as well and say, what do you know about copy? What is it that is really difficult to you? What would be helpful to you? And then I can go away and think, well, is there anything that I can make either as a service or a product that would be helpful to you? So I've had a lot of chats, got to know a lot of people. And that's what I love about having my own business as well, because I can spend as long as I want on things that in other jobs I'd be told you can only have an hour on this, or so I'm a nosy Parker, or I have a strong curiosity in people, whichever way that you like to see it. But it's that being able to help people and find creative ways of doing it and problem solving. And the flexibility of what I do as well. I could work from anywhere in the world, really. I just need a laptop and like Zoom, Loom. I use ConvertKit
What's
for my
Loom?
So,
Not the Loom bracelet.
No, that's my side hustle. I'll use you for fulfilment. No, it's like a screen recorder. So if I'm reviewing somebody's website, I can start filming and I can put a little picture of myself in the corner or just have it as the screen. And then I go through and make recommendations. And I've got an extension called Edit This, which allows me to type over the text as well. So I can say, well, this is your headline at the moment, but if you made a tweak here or there, so you're speaking directly to you or your customer. So it allows me to edit live. So yeah, I will show you later. But there's so many different amazing software that just means I could work anywhere in the world. And things like I can rearrange my schedule so I can go and pick my nieces up from school, or in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be looking after them and we're going to make a gingerbread house ready for Christmas. And when it was really hot over the summer, I was quite quiet with work, so I could just go to Aberystwyth for the day and have some fish and chips with my mum and dad on the beach. It was lovely. So yeah, things like that.
Freedom, you've got your freedom back. Well done. Escape the
You're selling
grind.
the dream. You're selling the dream. How do you stay? Do you have like bad days? Do you have to stay motivated?
Of course, everybody has bad days, and there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of, there's always that thing at the back of your mind as a business owner, am I going to keep having customers? Because you could do something one day, or if I got sick or anything, because I'm a cancer survivor, I'm always aware that your future is very uncertain. Yeah. So, like, you don't want to prophesize doom or anything like that, but you've got to be realistic and think, I'm going to plan for the best, but also plan for the worst. I think when we took part in the Black Country Chamber pitching competition a few weeks ago, congratulations on winning, when we were preparing the day before, we were talking about what was the worst that could happen, and then you said, well, what is the best that could happen? And I think it's really important to have both sides, because some people focus all on the worst, some people focus all on the best, but you need both.
Yeah, no, it keeps you very balanced. And we spoke on the last episode about mindset and where you can acknowledging what you're thinking, whether you can, it's a positive thought or a negative thought. Or... Mindfulness
is the act of being aware of your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. Which I'm trying to do. I've tried it a few times, but it is that thing. But it is so important, because you're not sure sometimes why you're feeling the way you are, do you? You just become like a snowball of just the same, and it can be quite hard, especially as a business owner. I mean, I personally find it can be incredibly lonely, even though there's loads of people out there who are in exactly the same position. And I know we're probably selling the NatWest Accelerator course program, which is actually open for applications, won't it?
Sponsorship.
But it's really good, and for me, and I think it's the same for you as well, it's just opening your network up to a new set of people who are actually quite similar in terms of, like, we're all going through much the same thing with fairly new business owners. It is lonely and stressful out there, but you suddenly realise you're not on your own.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a whole new bubble of people, but it's quite similar.
Yeah, when you started saying about the lonely yes, it can be really lonely as a business owner. And I was gonna say exactly the same about the NatWest Accelerator program or other kind of programs, because others are out there.
There's loads available. Again, it's that thing like when we said, putting yourself out there to do it, because I hesitated about applying for it in the first place, thinking, is it for me? Have I got enough time? I've done freelancing before, and that can be even more lonely than being a business, because you may literally be with yourself 90% of the time. Has its bonuses for sure, but you can suddenly become quite isolated and it can kind of creep up on you, I think, that level of isolation.
Yeah, I think with copywriting, it is a very solitary kind of work to do, because it's writing, and obviously I do a lot of interviews as part of training conversion copywriting, so it's really heavily on the interviews, finding that VOC data. But once I've done the interviews, and then I'm at the stage when I'm transcribing them, because I like to go back and listen again to what they've said, which can be time consuming, but it really helps me to understand and then think about the strategy and then actually doing the writing. All of those are me. And especially since the pandemic, I don't really like to be by myself that much. Okay. And I think always I've enjoyed having people around me rather than being stuck in an office or at home in a room by myself. I've learned this over the past year. Even if it's just going to a cafe and not chatting to anybody, having that buzz around me is so much better for me than working from home or working by myself. And quite often I'll go to the hub. I go every Wednesday, but I try and go at least once a week. In Wolverhampton, there's the Ignite, which is, I think that's co-funded or co-run by the Black Country Chamber and the council. Startup businesses can go and work in their co-working spaces, and it's all free as well. So I think it's finding those places where you can be around people and can be around like-minded people who are business owners, and you can respect.
I think certainly if you're in a city these days, certainly from when I used to do freelancing a lot 10 years ago, there wasn't really anywhere you could go that easily. You had the cafes, but sometimes it feel a bit awkward if you sat there for 4 hours.
Oh yeah, with one cup of coffee.
You can only drink so much coffee. But now there does seem to be a lot of sort of hot desking and things. There's a lot of them popping up, as well as some of them are obviously expensive.
Yeah.
But if you only use them once or twice, but then there are lots of free ones, free programs.
Yeah.
We're just talking from a Birmingham Wolverhampton point of view, but there is loads, and I could probably find something every couple of miles, realistically.
Yeah, I know West Midlands House in Willenhall, they've opened a place. Birmingham in X and Y, that's opened over the summer. That's a chain, so they've got in London and up here as well. So, and you don't have to buy, you can pay for a day or you can pay for different packages. So yeah, there's definitely ways, because you can't always go to cafes, and the price of those cappuccinos keep going up as well.
Well, yeah, they're probably a similar price these days to the hot desks if you're going for coffee. And I'd have to have a caramel shortbread with it as well. So that's
a muffin, yeah.
You can't put a price on caffeine and luxuries,
Yeah, and that's something else I've learned as well, having those little treats to keep it doesn't have to be. I see a lot of people talk about vision boards and having 5 years goals, which is fine for some people. And I've learned that I do need to have a vision for the future of some kind. But for me, planning 5 years ahead, I've never been that kind of person. Now I've been through an experience which brought me face to face with my mortality. I think, well, I don't want to jinx my future or take it for granted either. So for people who it works for planning 5 years ahead, great.
Crack on.
Good for you. But for me, I find it easier now to plan a year or think, okay, this is the general direction that I want to go in. And rather than having, oh, I want to buy a Lamborghini in the future or an island, I'm quite happy with a cappuccino and a shortbread.
Yeah.
Little things in life.
Yeah, those
Well,
little
because
things.
they're achievable, aren't they?
Yeah.
And however bad your day is, there's nothing stopping you going to getting a coffee or going to see a friend or whatever it is. The little things, and they do make a big difference.
Yeah.
The other thing I find as well, in terms of like your goals and sort of ambitions and things, is it's all well and good, like I said, having the big ones. Like I want to buy a house, or I want a Lamborghini, or whatever else. But you can't check that off at the end of the week unless you happen to have, whatever it is, got that mega contract. But you can get. You need to have that vision of this is where it would be amazing. Mm-hmm. But realistically, I just want to get one new client this week, or I just want to finish the week having know that I've got through 50% of my to-do list. Because then you'll finish the week knowing that you've achieved something, and that in itself is really rewarding. And then go to Pratt and have your whatever it might be. But that can be really rewarding, just knowing that you've done it. And I find that works particularly well. Just 2 or 3 manageable things.
Yeah.
You're always working towards your goal, but that could be 6 months, 12 months, 20 years.
Yeah. And
if you're always holding out for that, then...
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I love it. And that changed the way I see goals as well, because it's very well having the big goal, but what are the steps that you need to take in order to get there? And for me, I think I've always been good at being consistent, and I didn't realise that that's quite rare in people to actually keep showing up and keep doing the do, because that's how you get things done. And I think if you can have that goal, but then break it down into the steps and the systems in order to get there, and then keep doing it, your goal might change, but you're still going to get outcomes by following that path and doing the activity.
Yeah, it kind of holds you accountable, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Whether to yourself or someone else holding you accountable. At least you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And how you're doing. So just to wrap up, if you were to give some top tips for copy and, in terms of people's websites or whatever it might be, what do you think people can do that's achievable and beneficial?
Talk to your customers to find out how they're describing you and your services. You don't always have to speak to them directly either. If you've got an intake form or if you've got an order form and you've got a question on there saying, why have you chosen us, or why are you buying this? And then if you have a feedback form afterwards and you've already got these, go through those and see what people are saying about you in your own words. Clarity over cleverness as well, because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I need to be really funny, or I need to say these really creative things. But actually, if people don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to buy from you. Confused people don't take action. So you can be a little bit clever, but above all, be clear and show people what to do next. So be clear with your call to actions. So it could be click this button to get to the checkout, or find out more about our range of cakes, cheesecake, class dresses.
So Charlotte, in terms of your call to action,
yes.
How do people find you?
Yes, so I've got a website, charlottethecopywriter.com, and there you can sign up for a weekly email which has tips about writing and communication and how you can use writing to get more customers yourself. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn at Charlotte the Copywriter.
Nice and
That
easy.
was very smooth. Well done, because you just led straight from the call to action. What's your call to action?
Do we have a call to action?
No, I don't know.
Well, obviously ours is like and subscribe. Share with your friends.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe if you watch it on YouTube. Do share.
Apologies for the wind.
I'm not apologising for
I
that.
think every time we try and record a podcast, we get gale force winds.
We had rain the first time. Second time, I think it stopped raining. Now it's raining again. But this is the lovely UK.
I was so proud of my signs, but they do make a lot of noise.
They do look really good.
They wobble though,
Professional.
like the wobble boards. It's an instrument. But no, that was lovely. Thank you for listening.
If you'd like to find out more about us, do visit www.rapidpack.co.uk, and I think that's it.
We'll see you on episode 4.
Maybe.
Our funding is not pulled. Thank you for coming.
Oh no, thank you for having me. I've had a
thank
great
you.
time.